Good morning, class 7 students. So, today I'm going to teach you about this poem Lucy Gray by Williams Wordsworth. Now, I will first read the stanza, then stanza by stanza, I'll explain to you, and then I will tell you the summary of the poem. So, let's go to the first stanza. Oft I had heard of Lucy Gray, and when I crossed the wild, I chanced to see at break of day this solitary child. Now this stanza provides the setting and the foreshadowing of the for the rest of the poem. This is providing the setting for the rest of the poem. Now we know that Lucy Gray has been heard of before and often. She has been heard of before and often. Then you see the speaker claims that he saw the solitary child right at the break of day, right? Means in the morning that he saw this child. At this point, the speaker does not reveal why. He does not reveal why he has heard of Lucy Gray. He's saying he has heard of her, he has seen her, but he's not saying why. He's not revealing. He's keeping it a suspense. Nor does he reveal why seeing her is worth mentioning. No, he's not even saying why even seeing her is worth saying it in the poem. The first stanza simply strikes up curiosity, okay, is building up to the poem. Curiosity about Lucy and sets up as an important figure in the poem. Now let's go to the stanza 2. She dwelt no mate, no comrade, Lucy knew. She dwelt on a wide moor, the sweetest thing that ever grew beside a human door. Now you see, this stanza it continues to create curiosity more about Lucy. Now here the speaker is trying to say that she has no mate. No mate means no friends, and comrade, no close friends. The corresponds with this description of her in the previous stanza as a solitary child. Solitary child means a lonely child. Then he says that she dwelt on a wide moor. Now it is a strange thing to imagine that a child with no friends or family, alone and living outside. Isn't it? It is something strange. A child does not have a family. A child does not have a family and no friends, and she's living outside alone. One might begin to think that he is describing some kind of feral child. But the line 3, but see line 3 of the stanza here contradicts that idea entirely. The speaker says that she is the sweetest thing. He says that she is the sweetest thing that ever grew beside a human door. Now we can understand that Lucy is a sweet, darling child. The last line says that she grew beside her human door. Now this seems strange that she did not grow inside that door since she is a human child. The speaker has already mentioned that she dwelt among the moor. These two descriptions causes the reader or causes us to wonder about Lucy and her strange identity. Now let's go to stanza 3. You yet may spy the fawn at play, the hare upon the green, but the sweet face of Lucy Gray will never more be seen. Here the speaker talks directly to us and says that they may spy the fawn at play and that they may catch sight of a hare upon the green, but that the sweet face of Lucy will never be seen because Lucy has she went to bring her mother, and in the storm she was caught up and she had died and she had disappeared in the snow. With this stanza, the speaker reveals that something has happened to Lucy. That something has happened. Now let's go to stanza 4. Tonight will be a stormy night. You to the town must go and take a lantern, child, to light your mother through the snow. This is the girl's father tells the child. Now, the quotes here indicate that the speaker is now telling a story. Okay, the speaker means the William. This perhaps is the story he has heard from another. He begins to talk about from another point of view. This person apparently sent the child out in the snow with a lantern to find the mother. The person who sent the child was her father. Now, stanza 5. Thy father, that father, will I gladly do. 'Tis scarcely afternoon. The minister clock has just struck 2, and yonder is the moon. Now, the speaker, again, William Wordsworth, has already described Lucy as the sweetest thing, isn't it? So it does not come as a surprise that she should respond. She's obedient. That father will I gladly do. She's very obedient. She says, Father, I will gladly do. Because she was a sweet child. This also reveals that the speaker within the court is Lucy's father. As I've told you earlier, it was Lucy's father who was telling her to go and fetch her mother. The father sends his daughter out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He asks her to take a lantern to her mother. Lucy gladly goes. Now let's go to stanza 6. At this, the father raised his hook and snapped a fagot band. He plied his work, and Lucy took the lantern in her hand. Now let's see this. Now this stanza continues the story from the original speaker's point of view. He says that the father returned to his work. Father was busy, so that's why he had to send his daughter. So that's why as Lucy went out with the lantern in her hand, he was busy with his work, so he has sent Lucy. Now let's go to stanza 7. Not blighter is the mountain row, with many a wanton stroke. Her feet disperse the powdery snow that rises up like smoke. Now, this stanza describes Lucy as walking along slowly and carelessly in the snow, and she's kicking up the powdery snow. Means while walking, she's walking carelessly and kicking the snow up also as she walks and watching it rise like smoke. These descriptions of Lucy help to continue to paint a picture of a sweet and innocent child. Okay, she was a sweet and innocent child who was just walking carelessly in the snow and kicking the snow. The more the reader gets to know, the more we get to know Lucy, the more we feel anxious about her. Okay, the more we come to know about her, the more we feel anxious about her. Because the speaker has previously stated that she is to be seen no more. Remember, William Wordsworth has said that she is to be seen no more. The image of a little girl doing as her father told her to do, kicking up snow as she walks, serves to attach us to Lucy. Now let's go to stanza 8. The storm came on before its time. She wandered up and down, and many a hill did Lucy climb, but never reached the town. Now here is where the where there is a sadness here. With the first line of the stanza, William Wordsworth tells us what will happen to Lucy. The storm came on before its time. The storm was supposed to come in the night, but 2 in the afternoon her father sent her out, and the storm had come that time. And Lucy wandered up and down and climbed many a hill, but never reached the town. With this description, the reader we can imagine poor little Lucy. She was lost in the storm, climbing hill after hill only to be lost again in the storm. Now let's go to stanza 9. The rest parents all that night went shouting far and wide, but there was neither sound nor sight to serve them for a guide. Now let's see the stanza. The stanza tells us that at some point during the night, when their Lucy did not come and Lucy's mother had returned home, but Lucy did not return home. When her parents realized that Lucy had never made it to the town with the lantern, she had never made it to the town. They were rest, all sad, and all that night. And as any parent would be, as they frankly searched for the child. So they went out searching for the child. They went shouting far and wide, but found nothing. in the darkness and silence of the night. Now let's go to stanza 10. At daybreak, on a hill they stood that overlooked the moor, and thence they saw the bridge of wood, a furlong from the door. Now again, this William Wordsworth mentions here daybreak. Again, he mentions the word daybreak. This is a significant time in the poem. This is the time of the day when the speaker mentions having seen Lucy Gray. This is the time he mentioned that he saw her. This is also the time of the day when the parents realize that Lucy has probably not made it through the winter storm. She has not made it through the winter storm and something has happened to her. Let's go to stanza 11. They wept and turning homeward cried, in heaven we all shall meet. When in the snow the mother spied the print of Lucy's feet. Now look here. At this point, the parents knew something was wrong. The parents, they wept and they gave up the search for Lucy. Then something wrong. That Lucy is dead in the storm. They turned back home and they clung to the hope that they would meet with their daughter again in heaven. When they die, they would meet her in heaven. At that moment, the mother spied. At that moment, the mother saw little footprints of Lucy's feet on the snow. She has been all night in the storm. She is not likely to survive. She knew that Lucy was all night in the storm because there were fresh footprints. So she knew that she is not survived. She is dead. However, the sight of footprints gives them hope. Gave them some hope. Now let's go to stanza 12. Then downwards from the steep hill's edge, they tracked the footmarks small, and through the broken hawthorn hedge, and by the long stone wall. Now with this, the parents began to follow her footprints. They saw that she had walked through the broken hawthorn hedge and by the long stone wall. They saw all her footprints were there. Now they had hopes that she was alive. With hope in their hearts, they continued to follow her footsteps. By now, as the reader is likely fully sympathizing. We are sympathizing with the parents. That hope they find her. The feeling of frantically searching, the weeping, and also accepting her death. If they don't get her, they know that she's dead. And the renewed hope at seeing her footsteps are all feelings that we are feeling right now. Can either relate to or at least we can imagine. Let's go to stanza 13. And then an open field they crossed. The marks were still the same. They tracked them on, no ever lost, and to the bridge they came. Now the parents, yeah, you see the parents tracked the prince all the way across the field and to a bridge. The readers, we can imagine the parents must be feeling, how they are feeling as they followed their daughter's footprints and were forced to imagine a trudging through the storm, through the snowstorm, lost and afraid. Can you imagine a child going through the snowstorm, lost, afraid? It's dark. It becomes dark. Numbers. Let's go to stanza 14. They followed from the snowy bank those footmarks one by one into the middle of the plank, and further there were none. Now, this stanza invokes the feeling of intense loss. Now they knew that they had lost their daughter. While the parents followed the footsteps of the child, there is hope that she might be found alive at the end of those footprints. Instead, the prince led the parents to the middle of the plank on the bridge, and suddenly the footprints were no more there. The only conclusion is that Lucy must have fallen off the bridge and into the water and died. Now let's go to stanza 15. Yet some maintain that to this day She is a living child that you may see sweet Lucy Gray upon the lonesome wild. This stanza reveals to us that the body of little Lucy was never found. It was never found. Had it been found, people would not continue to claim that she is a living child. But they do, and furthermore, they claim that she can still be seen upon the lonesome wild. This suggests that it is the spirit of Lucy that is alive and still can be seen. This also gives more insight into the opening stanzas, in which the speaker claims that he saw her and that she was a solitary child, a lonely child. It was the spirit of Lucy Gray which he had often heard of and which he claims to have seen. Now let us go to the last stanza. Oh, ye rough and smooth, she trips along and never looks behind and sings a solitary song that whistles in the wind. Now, here again, William Wordsworth repeats again that he has seen Lucy Gray, that he describes her as she is now. Now, he says that she trips along and never looks behind, never looks back, as she sings a solitary song. This gives a peaceful description of Lucy and implies that she perhaps sang and skipped along because she was a child. While walking, she was singing and skipping along before the snowstorm took her away. The snowstorm. It suggests that she was not terrified by the storm. She was not afraid by the storm also, but that she was taken suddenly and by surprise by the storm. Essentially, it suggests that she died happy, skipping along in the snow. This, of course, would be that the parents would have desperately hoped for after realizing that the daughter was not alive. The story perpetrated about Lucy Gray suggests that if her spirit lives on, it is the happy spirit of a lively young child skipping along the snow. I hope you enjoy this poem, and today I will give you just the video, and in the next class I will send you the question answers. So for today, goodbye and have a great day.